What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm excited because I'm going to be doing a skiff bearing install on my Roxi 3. I know I have a disassembly out there, and I had left the stock bearings in here because I really did like the performance of them, but I've had this knife so long that I actually want to kind of go ahead and swap over to the skiff bearings because I think this one's probably going to be staying in the collection. So with that being said, mat linked down in the description below, tools all linked down in the description below. I have a set of Scout drivers. This one's made for CRKT by Scout Tools, and I really like this one. For around 35 bucks you get 4 WeHa bits with internal storage. You can put it on a key ring, or like me, you can store it in your Maxpedition with all the other little tools and things that I keep in there. It's a great tool. For this driver here, I got this directly from Scout Tools website. No affiliation, no links, and no sponsorship, but I do use my WeHa bits that are linked down below if you want to pick them up off Amazon. Those links do help the channel a little bit. It isn't a lot, but every little bit counts, and I appreciate when you guys use those. It is very supportive in helping me be able to continue to get things to bring content and reviews and do giveaways like I did over the holidays. So having said all of that, got the tools ready to go. This one here, I'm pretty sure is the 5mm, but I am going to demonstrate how to use this bearing tool to let you know what size your bearing is. You can get this from Skiff, relatively affordable. It's a nice thick chunk of aluminum, and it does have all the measurements in there. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This one here, you do not need to remove the pocket clip to take this scale off. It is just in the body, so you just need these body screws and the main pivot screw to remove this side of the scale, which will allow you to actually get down into the knife itself and do the disassembly like that. So we'll go ahead and move this over. I think these are titanium because they're anodized. So I'm going to move these over. I'm going to put these in the parts bin here. That's the main one. The next two that you're going to want to take apart are the body screws. Oh no, everything's T8. I apologize. I always do that. I get some of my Chinese manufacturers mixed up, but we and Civivi's really good about body screws all being the same size. I'm going to put this down in the next bin low so that I know these are the body screws. And because there is lock bar tension, it does pop it right off. One of the things that you're going to want to do when you're installing the skiffs, or at least that I recommend doing, you can see here this one is starting to wear in a track. What I recommend doing is taking the washer out, go ahead and clean that washer and flip it. That way you're getting a fresh track for the skiffs to make sure that when they break in, you're getting the maximum track, or you're getting a good track wear for your skiff bearings. So just keep that in mind. We're going to just set this aside. I use these little groove sections here to make sure that I can easily grab a hold of that. Now, stop pin did stay here. I am going to move that stop pin over to the bottom side because that's where I do want that. We will not need this skiff anymore, so we're going to set that aside to put away in the pack. Actually, I'm sorry, I did say I was going to show you how to do this. So what you can do to make sure that you do have the 5mm is you can just drop that in there, and if you have little to no wiggle at all, then you know that you have the 5. So very snug. 3/16 is going to be too small, 6mm too big, so it is 5. That's a great way to check to make sure that that is correct. Let's go ahead while we have this all apart and get this stuff out. And then what you can do, sorry, my magnet tool is still in my hand, to make sure that you do have the correct, which is the 3/16, you can just, actually, I'm sorry, 1/16. You can stick it in there, and if you have the room to go up and down, then you know that it fits. 2mm is going to be way too big. 3/64 is too small, 1mm too small. So hopefully you're seeing that it does fit in there. It does have a little bit of play, but that is the correct size that you'll want for your skiffs. So we're going to set those aside. Let me go ahead, and while I have the pivot out, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little dry clean. This is the lube that I use, so I haven't had it apart long enough to worry about that. What I'm looking at now Oh, the backspacer and the stop pin fell out. Probably should have set that down until I was ready to show you guys what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for the little pivot nipple. I don't know if you can see that right there, to make sure that that goes inside that little hole there. So once it drops in, it should sit flush and it shouldn't move. So that way you know that it's in there. I'm going to reinstall my backspacer here. And then what I'm going to do with the track worn side, I'm going to flip that out so I have fresh tracks on those washers. And then I guess it would help if I pulled out some 5mm bearings, huh? Let's see what we got here. I know this is 5mm because I had these in my brass Elementum before I took them back out and put it back to stock to sell that off, because I knew that I wasn't carrying it and I wasn't going to use that. And then here you can see 5mm, and then you can see the 1/16 that I was talking about earlier. I'm going to hang on to this pack though, so I can throw the stock skiffs in there, and then I just leave those out of the big pack. That's just how I keep track of it. All right, we got these skiffs out. And while we have them out, I'm just going to go ahead and throw these in here. Oops. And then I'll scratch that out after the video's done to make note that these came off the Roxi 3. I guess it really doesn't matter, but I do like to keep track of that for myself. So we'll set that aside. Use your favorite lube, however you want to install it. I think one of the best ways to do it on the skiffs is just to dab a little bit on one side, and then you can kind of roll them and you can really feel those moving around. Then you can just drop them into place and then take a little bit of the oil and just rub a little on the pivot there. I always think that looks really, or that works really good, just dropping it on the finger and then kind of working it on. And then what you can do at this point is you can go ahead and reinstall the blade. Oh, the stop pin. Sorry about that. I forgot to put that back down in the scale. Now we'll put the blade back down against the stop pin. I'm going to put another little drop here right in front of the detent track. And then with the extra lube that I have here, I'm just going to flip this around, whoops, on the finger. It's getting kind of slick there, and make sure that the balls have just a little bit of a coating on it. And then we're going to take the smooth side. This side has the track wearing on it. We're going to take that, face it outward to make sure that we're getting a nice situated spot there. All right, and that should go together really nicely. It should just fall into place. And once you've done that, go ahead and grab your pivot bolt and just start putting everything back together. Let's see here, because it's titanium, I try to put it in by hand. And I take it down, like I say this in every video, I just take it down hand tight. Once it stops, once I meet resistance and it stops, I just grab another body bolt or standoff bolt and put that in, and at least get one of those going. And then I'll check my centering and put everything back together, and we'll see how it's going to feel. It's going to take a little bit of fidgeting to get everything feeling like it did before. Let's just check the centering. Wow, that came immediately centered. And yeah, no side to side. Feels nice and smooth. Got a nice solid cage in there. I got a little bit of that oil from the detent track sliding out. So just gonna, and I've never had any issue with this one backing out, so I don't use any Loctite in the pivot. I've never had it back out with that pivot collar. That really, this knife does a really good job of staying together and centered. So just going to check all my bolts and check my pivot. Yeah, maybe just a little back it off just a tiny bit since this one's so good about. Yeah, nice and smooth. Let me move this out this way. And that's it. That is your skiff bearing install on the Roxi 3. A little bit of that oil flying out of there. Again, I recommend just, if you have an issue with your pivot backing out on your Roxi 3, go ahead and put your medium Loctite or whatever Loctite you prefer in on that pivot. And as tempted as you will be to fidget with it to break it in, if yours has a tendency to back out, it's always best to let that go ahead and sit and cure, and then you can pick it up and fidget with it. I'll probably spend the rest of the day fidgeting with this one just to get it going. Shouldn't take too long for that detent track to break in, but feels really good. It might feel a little bit better than the stock bearings, but it definitely feels no worse, and the solid cage is just going to give it more solidity in the pivot because it's a solid cage. There's no opportunity for it to flex like it does on the stock bearings that are not. They're hollowed, and again, depending on what you're doing, there is an opportunity for them to flex, however unlikely. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Those of you out there that regularly leave comments, liking, and supporting the channel, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a fantastic week. Love you guys. Until next time, peace.